at the moment. How do I answer my friend Lisa, how's Alex doing, over the confines and the limitations of a cell phone? First of all, I have to stop. I'm on a digress rant here, and there's other things to talk about. But how often in our lives does this become the dominant form of communication? And how are we evolving as conscious beings of some type when this replaces the face-to-face dialogue that ought to be going on? There's a big part of me that wishes I grew up 30 years ago, 40 years ago, and experienced what dating was like then, before cell phones and text messaging and the internet, when it was a lot more real and in your face and you knew somebody. Also, back then people weren't moving so much across the country or in their lives. Maybe they stayed in the same town and they knew someone for more than a couple years. And back then, not every city was a major city. You knew people, you knew your local cop. The world's moving into a new reality, and we have to be the masters of our own reality, of our own ship. Otherwise, we may have someone else creating our reality for us. So that's the point of so much of the news that we're discussing here. Articles like this, that in some cases are very personal, in our face, that deal with our own world, our own lives, less the new world order. When it comes to cell phones and Facebook, we have, of course, if we're involved in interacting with either of those two interfaces or the other interfaces that are out there, is this becoming something that's removing the real communication and human connection with my fellow man? Or is it something that's helping me evolve to the next level in doing something important with this tool? Because that's what it is, a tool. Just like money. Money is a tool. And so we have to understand there are many tools around us, but those same tools can also be distractions to distract us from the real things that are going on. Continuing on with some other pieces of news, I want to mention this real quick. Terrorist watch list may exceed U.S. population by 2019, world population by 2023. This is according to one person's projections. Looking at the amount of people that are added onto the watch list every year, it appears to be doubling itself. Go to the next graphic, Bill, right underneath that one. And this is the chart that's shown in this report. A projection based on the speed and rapid rate that people are being entered into this database. Now go back to the other headline, and it reads that terrorist watch list, one tip may now be enough, is now enough, to put name in the database, even though it's been this way for some time. Look at the picture here. Yes, we see the picture of the alleged attempted bomber of the plane that took off, that was on its way to Detroit, the Nigerian man. And this goes back to the underwear bomber story where Kurt Haskell witnessed a sharp-dressed man getting him on a plane so they can have that pretext, create that fearful event, and start pushing the body scanners. And so we see in this headline, a year after a Nigerian man allegedly, Bill, bring up graphic 39, tried to blow up a Detroit-bound airliner. Officials say they have made it easier to add individuals. That's the wrong one. The one you're at. Individuals' names to a terrorist watch list and improved the government's ability to thwart an attack in the United States. I'm reading government propaganda. I know it's really hard to take in and take a look at this. Senior counterterrorism officials say they have altered their criteria so that a single source tip, as long as it is deemed credible, can lead to a name being placed on the watch list. I mean, I can barely read news, folks, at this point. There's just so much crap going on out there. But that's what we have there in that particular category. There's so many things I want to talk about tonight. We're going to open up the phone lines for anything that you want to bring up. 503-288-4442. I'm looking at this new year and what I want to accomplish, what Alex wants to do, what I want to have done before 2011 is out. And there's going to be a lot of news and information that I'm going to be reading over the next year. There's a lot of stuff that I don't have the time to look at because I've already looked at it and I already know what the answer is. And if some of you haven't figured some things out, I don't have the time to break some things down because there is no more time. We literally are at a very critical step in the species evolution on whether we're going to go in a new direction or whether we're going to slide it in the toilet. This next year is going to be a really, really interesting year. I just think it's important that I come on TV, that I keep doing this show. I feel it's important in telling some people out there that haven't really heard this, that it's not sexy and it's not hot to have your head up your ass. I feel like, certain things just need to be said in Portland, Oregon, like you're not a conscious little teapot if you're shopping at New Seasons, eating your organic veggies week after week, but you're still dependent on fossil fuels to bring that crap into your city. And you know what? If you don't care about all those dead Iraqis and dead Afghanis, I don't give a damn who takes care of your health care. The government certainly doesn't care about your health care if they're engaged in genocide. And I just feel there needs to be a wake-up call every now and then that Portland's shit really stinks, and that we can do a lot better politically, locally. And I'd like to see one of you guys out there that's watching this show. I don't know if I'm going to do it. Run for city council in 2012. Because 2012 is going to be a big year for a lot of different reasons. Even if nothing happens on the planet in terms of the world as we know it changing type of a thing. So much focus on that year, 2012, some seeing death and destruction, and the New World Order depopulating this planet by 80%. Then you got other people that are expecting the aliens to come back and start gang raping us and creating a new species. And then you got some other people out there that think we're all going to become super conscious and we're just going to float up to the spacecrafts, # command. And then, of course, you've got those that are still within the third dimensional reality that we're going to take back the White House and we're going to have a republic again, and everything's going to be fine. We're going to go back to the Constitution, and we're all going to agree to just get along. And, wide, vast perspectives. Some of them very far-fetched, and some of them with a little bit of truth. And then sometimes I wonder if there's going to be just a little bit of everything going on in this. But what I feel is very interesting to look at in terms of 2012 is to pay attention to what's going on with the sun, and the potential that our grid as we know it could be going down. And the more I look into this, the powers that be, the government, they got some serious contingency plans going on outside of preparations for war with China in terms of them being worried about something that is greater than man, greater than government, greater than their military-industrial complex, greater than their satellites, their weapons of war, the way that they hold other nations hostage all over the world. They're worried about that stuff coming down and the shift of power changing when that happens. Now, if we are looking at this particular event, I find it to be very significant. Do we view this with optimism or pessimism? Are we looking forward to it or are we afraid of it? I'm looking forward to it. We'll get that phone call in a sec. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to an event, anything potentially coming, the sun returning, I'll say another sun, that's more powerful than the forces of darkness. Something that comes that resets the species, that humbles the entire species in a big, big way. Yeah, I don't know if this is going to happen or not, but you know what? My change, my poker chips, my bet is in that direction. And honestly, I truly believe for those of us that are getting prepared, in the back of our minds, our intuitive selves, there's a part of us that knows this day is coming. And that's what we're doing. Other people out there that joke and laugh about the zombie apocalypse in a ha-ha, he-he kind of way. By the way, Bill, bring up the Mercury graphic. The Mercury, Portland Mercury, Sarah Merck came and interviewed me last week at the store. We'll see if it makes the print. But I mentioned to her, a lot of people in Portland, they're really into the whole pop culture thing. Zombie apocalypse, brains. Oh, and the zombies I mean aren't really interested in brains. I feel that it's a part of this collective consciousness, this knowing that there is this strange reality coming in the future where people are going to be acting zombie-like. Not that they're going to literally transform into a zombie, but from prolonged days and weeks without eating food, there are changes that are going to take place in the brain. And there's a whole plethora of things that could contribute to our infrastructure melting down and distribution of food being cut off. And when you have a big population and not a lot of food, you've got some problems. If only 10% of the people ran to the hills, in less than a year, all the fish, all the wildlife would be gone. Just 10%. Most people don't think about it. They go, I'm just going to get my gun and I'm going up to Mount Hood. Yeah, how are you going to get there first? On your motorcycle? And then what, with your rifle strapped to your back like Rambo? This ain't no movie, boy. This ain't no movie. You better have your stuff up there buried somewhere. You better have your underground bunker. Think about all these cowboys out there. All these people have seen all the Rambo films and Schwarzenegger films. They're well armed. That got their stuff at the gun show. They're all going to be run up to Mount Hood at the same time. Good luck. I mean, there ought to be a movie about this. Is someone scripting this, Bill? I mean, like a movie, like a book, like they all went to Mount Hood because they thought they were Rambo. You know, could be a title. But we have a phone call that's waiting, so let's go ahead and take that phone call, and then I'll cover some other news. Hello. Good evening.
Hello. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Well, I was calling because I wanted to know what you recommend as your plan. I mean, I know you said you recommended burying like a weapons pile in Mount Hood, but I mean, I have a pretty good safe house going on. Like, I've set up a bunker in my own backyard. I mean, do you have any recommendations?
You have a bunker here in Portland?
Yes, I do.
Well, I think if you have enough space, it's not a bad idea. If someone's going to go the extent of paying for a bunker, and I know someone that makes those, I wouldn't do it in the city. I would do it somewhere else, and I wouldn't let anybody know about it.
Well, I mean, like, this is a bunker that, like, my grandfather set up, like, a good 30 years ago.
Yeah. Well, if it feels right and it's large enough, you know, people got to ask themselves what's right for them in terms of being prepared, because we're not all going to stay in the city. I have a lot of people that come to the PPC asking, like, so what do I think is the ultimate situation, like a shelter-in situation where you don't leave or where you have to leave? Like, say there's a tsunami, or there's a massive earthquake, or the Chinese are coming. You know, yeah, that would be a get-out-of-town situation. But I guess the thing is, we don't know because we're not there yet. So what we have to do is be prepared to be in either scenario.
All right. Well, I mean, there's a lot of theories about, like, what's going to go on with 2012. Some people think the Mayans, it's going to fucking end the world. But, like, I personally believe that, like, the sun cycle is going to change. Like, what kind of radiation do you think I'd have to prepare for when, like, the sun cycle changes in 2012, like, completely fucked up?
Yeah, like the speculation that we could be fried by it. Well, you know what? You know, if that happens, you know what? I don't know if there's a whole lot I can do about that. But there's lots of...
I'm not asking you to, like, change anything. It's like, what do you think, like, the radiation would change? Would that cut out all power, like, with our government?
I'm just strictly talking about its effects on the human body. Because I think we have to take this down by categories, because the human body, and I believe our brain, is going to go through massive shifts and changes, and I think that's tied in with the idea of consciousness, or starting to use a larger percentage of our brain. That's my fascination with its impact on the human body. There's also, if you start researching or Googling, if you're on the net, cycles of war tied to cycles of the sun. Very interesting topic. There were scientists in the 20s in Russia that were looking at links between major intense battles on the war front and observing massive solar flares up in the sky.
Well, I mean, there's this theory that I heard that, like, the type of radiation might release more dimethyltryptamine from our pineal gland, which might create us to hallucinate that angels are going to come down from heavens on high and completely, like, wipe us out. I mean, what is going to happen with us, like, being exposed to these types of, like, different chemicals that, like,
you know what? I think we're going to find out pretty soon. But I also want to tell you this. You're talking about 2012. It's not 2012, December 21st. It's between what we've already been experiencing and the years after 2012. It's like the waning and waxing of a moon. So in 2011, start paying attention when there's solar flares and start studying human behavior when Portland's weird is at its weirdest. And Portland's weird is at its weirdest, and things do happen just like when it's a full moon, when we have massive CMEs, coronal mass ejections, bombarding the Earth because people react differently to that energy. Going back to the whole idea of the energy grid going down, you're going to have to spend some time studying some of the studies that have come out in the last year on how vulnerable our current grid is. With satellites and stuff like that up there, it's all based on space weather being calm, non-turbulent.
Okay, well, so, I mean, like, so what it sounds like is, like, we should probably, like, set up a good, like, decent-sized militia, and we should probably get a good, like, arms base going so we can protect ourselves and, like, keep all, like, you know, all the fucking crazy people out, right?
Is this a real call, or is this a prank call?
I'm just trying to ask some questions so I can prepare for, like, when, like,
yeah, you know, I'm not doing the militia thing. You know, if you really believe in your mind expanding and whatnot, you don't necessarily have to scare yourself with the idea